Hello everyone, Agent Gold here, and welcome back to Let's Play Shantae, Risky's Revenge. Last time, like any good adventurers, we made a cup of coffee, traded it for plastic explosives, and blew our way into a dungeon. So let's have a look at what the Hypno Baron's got in store for us. So remember how the first dungeon was kind of linear and straightforward? This dungeon is the complete opposite. Poe was not lying when he said this place is a labyrinth. So, the statue outside this door actually determines what room you will go into. So there's a treasure up there that I can't reach, and I'm pretty sure the monkey bullet does not get you there. Let's give it a try. Yeah, that goes too far. So what I mean about this statue that's out here is that when you hit it, the eye changes directions, and depending what direction it's facing, you go into a different room. This room has a little bit of a passage here. It's a little bit tricky to see it, but there's only one way to go through that little spot there. And it looks like we just got dumped into a similar room where there's a chest we can't reach up above and a hole in the floor. But there are no skulls rising from this hole, which means that it is safe to drop through here, and we end up in the first room we just saw, and we can get a key that was in there. So it's kind of a nice, or rather an interesting little trick that they've got in the design of the place. We go to the left-facing room. There's water in here that we can't do anything about. Dropping into water with the elephant form is the same as dropping in with the monkey form. The elephant doesn't sink farther, it sinks less. Don't ask me. We're talking about a flying elephant here, so I'm not worried about the water physics of this thing. Maybe it's just really buoyant. The upper-facing room is where we need the key to continue. And here's a new enemy, and a very annoying one, is these skeletons. In this particular room, I think I can blitz them. Yeah, if I knock them all down once, then this door opens. But the way those skeletons work is that when you beat them, they turn into those tombstones. And if you leave them alone for too long, they come back. But if you turn into the elephant and smash the tombstones, then they're down for good. And here's a druid. And this is what I bought the flamethrower for. These guys very slowly cast magic. And if you give them a chance to get off their spell, they hit you with a lightning bolt. But if you hit them with the flamethrower, you take them down very quickly, and they always drop magic vials behind. So it's a good counter for them. Now this door is a little bit different, and a key does not get you through that door. Like, there are more keys in this dungeon, and I've tried bringing keys back to that door to see if they work, and it just gives you a message saying that no, that doesn't work. I probably don't need to be smashing all these jars just now, but that's my habit. When I see a jar, I want to break it. I've been playing too many Zelda games. Can I get that guy before he gets me? I think I have to outrun him. Yeah, their hit is not like an instant death or instant automatic hit or anything. So if you're moving, then it's not that big of a deal. Something that I forgot to mention in the first dungeon that's definitely worth knowing about this one is when you defeat enemies in a dungeon, they don't respawn until either you save the game and quit, since there are save guys in the dungeons, or until you leave the dungeon. So if you can get through the dungeon all in one sitting, it's a good idea to take out the enemies that you see so you don't have to deal with them again. By the way, you might be wondering why I'm not using the elephant to attack. The elephant's charge is about as strong as 2 hair whips, so it's not great, especially not compared to Shantae's magic abilities. Okay, this is one of those puzzles that will test the limits of your patience and test your knowledge in trying to figure it out. So as you can kind of guess with these statues, they can either be eye opened or eye closed. And as you can guess, they affect which room you go into when you walk through these doors. But there's a trick to it. By the way, sometimes these skeletons look like tombstones when you first see them. I've tried to smash the tombstones before they come to life, and it just doesn't seem to be possible. It's like it's just there to taunt you, and even if you hit the tombstone as the elephant before they come up, they just wake up and you damage them right away, so that doesn't work. But the trick in the last room with those statues that can either have their eye open or their eye closed, the statues work on the door on the opposite side of the room, not the door that it's next to. And that's the part that's really confusing about it. See, those druids are just not a problem when I use the flamethrower like that. I'm actually happy I bought that instead of the extra hair whip upgrade. Normally I get the hair whip upgrade at that point. So I happen to know the best order to go through these rooms, so I know that we needed this key before we could go on in any of the other rooms. And for the other side, we want the closed eye door first. When we go back the other way, we'll want the closed eye door for that one. My rule of thumb is that whenever you go in one of these doors, change the way that the eye is facing, so that you affect the other door. I can break that, but I just didn't want to get hit by the fire there. So we've got a challenge for the monkey to take care of, and it's a kind of a nice thing that in this game it doesn't take very long to go between different transformations because they... that was a bad idea. They throw these different jars in here for Shantae to get that the monkey can't get, so you do a lot of changing back and forth like that. And I think that this room is kind of where... probably one of the more interesting parts of this dungeon. There were platforms like this one in the first game, where when you jump on it, it moves in the direction that the eye is facing. But the ones in the first game were very small compared to this one, so this one's a lot easier to jump on. And that's not just a difference of the iPhone version of the game, that's just a difference of Risky's Revenge. Okay, so we've got two eyes here. And depending on what way they're facing, the door is either open or closed, and when they're facing a certain way, you can go in and you go to a particular room. So there are 4 rooms that we're interested in here. One for both eyes facing the same direction in each of the 4 directions that they can. I think I need the monkey to get over that. So yeah, you can do this whole room with... I'm going to stop that sentence right there because you need Shantae to break those purple blocks. So let's get that thing moving first, and then we'll head over here and whip our way through. So each of these 4 rooms that we're going to be visiting first has got a key. And we are going to need all 4 keys, and I'll show you why when we get them. This block gives you an express route back. And that particular one is very nice because it takes you all the way back and you don't end up falling or anything. I think there's another one in the opposite room that isn't so nice. So let's go in the down room. And it is kind of cool that in each of these cases, the way that you have to go into the room is the same as the way that the eyes are facing. And if I had gotten down here without stepping on any of these blocks, they would be about perfect for trying to go back up. Like, right when you hop off one, the next one is facing the correct direction. So that's some really nice design in there, but unfortunately it's kind of tricky to get down here without stepping on any of them, so just use that little bit of patience that it takes to get through here. This place is kind of a nightmare when you're trying to do a speed run. You pretty much have to memorize what order to visit the rooms if you're going to do it, so don't try to get the 2-hour speed run on your first time playing or anything. Play the game a time or two and really get a feel for this fortress before you try to do that. In fact, there's an achievement for speedrunning this fortress all by itself, and I might get that one by the end of it since I know the proper order of the rooms and everything. I don't think little slip-ups like accidentally sending that block into oblivion is going to stop it. Okay, I'll try to be brave this time. I think this room you can complete using just the monkey form and not using Shantae in her human genie half form. Yep. Unfortunately, yeah, this platform down here that's going to take us back doesn't quite do the complete job. So... yeah. So, bad design. Can I bullet through here? Close enough. What do I do about this part, though? I should know this. Okay, I could just safely drop that. You see, that's kind of frustrating when that happens, that you can't see below you and you can't see if it's safe to drop or not. And then that just leaves the upward-facing room. Something that I noticed about this room last time I played through was that the blocks that take you up are all on the right side or in the middle, but there aren't any on the left. So a quick way to get through, to go back through this room is, shoot. A quick way to go back is to jump along the left side. Okay, so we have all 4 keys, and I guess that's another note worth making about, they've made a lot of improvements on this game from the first game. Like, Shantae's hair whip is much longer than it was in the first game, and it was kind of hard to use there. And there was no way to tell how many keys you had in these dungeons. So when the eyes are facing opposite ways, the door also opens and gives you different rooms. This particular one that I just went into, it's an upside-down room that's got lots of treasure in it, and in that chest is a magic gem. Let's use the pike ball here, because that's a little bit easier to break the jars than trying to whip them all. There is another upside-down room if I had them facing the other ways than they are right now, but that one does not have treasure, it only has enemies. So let's see, in this cross-eyed room, this is what we need the keys for, to go through these 4 doors. Each door has a number of jars that tells you which room it is, and sometimes it's possible to get a bunch of them with a single hair whip. I know I've gotten the 3 jars in the last room all with 1 whip before, so... Okay, so the only point in this room is to look at these statues and memorize the pattern of where they're looking. 2 on the left are looking up, the ones on the right, top one is down, bottom one is left. So up, up, down, left. Maybe you have a guess at this point on why we needed to go into that room. You'll see for sure when we go into the last room that I'll show you in this little area here. So we'll switch the eyes so that they are the Perry the Platypus face. We've got a room with 4 statues here, and what was that pattern? It was up, up, down, and left. Now you might think, looking at this, that you can skip that room, but that doesn't really work, and I'll explain why after we go through this room. It's one spot in the game where you can dive into the water and use the fact that you sink to get past an obstacle. But we've got another magic fountain over here, which means it's time for another transformation. This music is really nice, but let me tell you, it is not the nicest music in the series. That goes to Watertown from the first game. And there's a particular remix of that that's really beautiful. And it's just one more thing about this game that's really artistic. Okay, so we have the mermaid form right now. And it's just like the mermaids that we saw at the cliffs. Walking around on land with this is incredibly sluggish, and this was the challenge for navigating the platforming area in Polyp Bay, but the mermaid form is able to swim underwater, so that's something that we haven't been able to do before. And it opens up a few areas to us. Mermaid cannot attack yet, so all we can do is swim underwater. The mermaid has a slightly different voice than the human form, so it's kind of interesting. But with the statues in this room, each of them has 4 directions that they can possibly look, and there are 4 statues. That means there are 256 combinations. That is incredibly difficult to guess the correct combination, and it will take longer than it would to go through those 4 rooms, gather the keys, and get the room with the answer in it. And you can't just memorize the pattern once and go into that room because it changes every time you play the game. So it's a little bit tedious, but it still counts as speedrunning if you go through all 4 rooms just very quickly, if you happen to know your way around this labyrinth really well. Okay, we're back here. So we went through the closed eye on the left and the open eye on the right. If we go through the closed eye on this door, this is just a little bonus room with a lot of money in it. So to get 100% completion in this game, you do have to buy all the items in the shop, but potions don't count toward that. So they throw these money rooms at you, and that kind of helps you if you haven't bought everything by this point in the game to actually do that. There are still a few magic gems we haven't found, so you can't actually buy everything in the game yet. If we go through the open eye side on this open eye door on this side of the room, in just a minute we'll come to a room where we need to use the mermaid form, so we had to go and get that first. This is actually having me use all my forms quickly. The monkey to get around, the elephant to smash those, and then the mermaid in the next room. It seems a little bit, almost a little bit underwhelming that water can be an obstacle like this. I mean, Shantae can swim now, but she can't swim underwater unless she's part fish. So, okay. Since the elephant can smash these, it's a little... And since they don't respawn when you come out of here, well, I guess we're just in this one room, so it doesn't matter if they respawn or not, but it makes it a little easier to break them. That's a very unusual treasure. The bottom half of a skull. But you remember there was one weird door that I said the keys wouldn't work on? You have to find both halves of the skull to get through that. That achievement was for crushing one of those things from above, which you kind of can't help but do throughout the game. It's so a lot of the achievements in this game are things that you either will do or are one little bonus thing that you can do off to the side, but using the mermaid to go through Polyp Bay is probably the hardest one. I've done it once, but not on this version of the game, so now I'm all sad about that. But, shoot. At this point we need to backtrack near the beginning toward that first door that was based on the statue that could look in 4 directions, because there was one direction that we didn't look at with that, and that's where we're going to go now. These rooms are not that bad when there's no enemies in them, so that's why I like to take them all out when I see them. jars don't come back either, though, so I'm a little bit wasteful with them, breaking them when I see them, but I've got full health and full magic, so it's not the worst thing in the world. Okay. Unfortunately, these rooms are a little bit boring when there's nothing in them like this, but at least it makes it straightforward and kind of easy to remember where you are. By the way, do I even need to say that that room is easier on the iPhone version at this point? Okay, which room was it? I think it was left-facing. Yeah, we need the mermaid here. I think some of these rooms were constructed just to waste your time. Okay, here's a treasure chest we weren't able to reach before, and lo and behold, it's the top half of the skull. Again, isn't that just one of the weirdest treasures you've ever seen? She smiles when she holds it up, too. I think that of all of the weird things that are in this game, that was probably the most unintentionally weird, that she holds the half of a skull up and smiles. This is not a violent, gory game, Shantae. You're not supposed to hold up the bones of your fallen foes or anything. I think I'll switch back to the flamethrower for what's coming up. I don't strictly need it, but it might be a fun way to close this out. Again, these are just health and magic, so I'm not interested in these. And here's the Hypno Baron. Seems like he knows everything about what's going on. But what's he playing at here? This seems very weird that he's saying all this. Seems like he's trying to sow some distrust or something. Here's something that I really like about Shantae's character. Oftentimes a character would be very hesitant about fighting someone who looks like a loved one. Shantae just saw through it in a heartbeat, and she has no problem doing this. So the Hypno Baron, looking like Uncle Mimic, has got a few different attacks. He can mix up the potions like that, and when they hit the floor, they'll either do a shockwave straight up or a shockwave across the floor. If you happen to be facing across from him, he's got like a magic finger flick that can cause an explosion across the room. Seems like he's sticking to his potions right now. If you manage to, since he's teleporting all around the room like this, if you manage to hit him like right when he appears and before he can get his attack off, you stun him and he doesn't get to attack. Well, I guess that particular attack is much quicker than the other ones. So let's see if I can cut him off here. Nope. He's just beating me up. Got you. There's no need to be shy about these potions, so that's what I got them for in the first place. I think I just used up enough magic that I can't continuously use my flamethrower now, so let's switch to the hair whip for a little bit while that refills. I know I could refill it right away, but I think that I've got him probably close to being beaten. I know I said that about the Squid Baron before and we had about half a fight left, but, you know, I'm using the flamethrower. That thing does a lot of damage. I'm doing very, very sloppily against him this time. That a lot of his attacks are hitting me. And that, again, that's easier on the DSi version to get away from his attacks, since the controls are a little smoother there. Well, that and the added distraction of recording this and commenting on it while I'm playing. Maybe that makes more difference than I realize. There's no real way to know which platform he's going to end up on, so you just kind of have to keep your eyes open. There we go, I got him stunned. Yeah, this is about how lucky I normally get with him appearing right in front of me and me being able to stun him like that. So maybe that's why this fight is normally easier than it is right now. He's sturdier than I realized. Yeah, these bosses are kind of simple in their patterns, but they have a lot of hits, and truth be told, that's not a great combination because they tend to get stale when it's lots of hits but not a lot of attacks. How long is this fight taking? I'll have to double check once I finish this and see how many minutes this actually took. I'm gonna wait until I get hit once more before I refill my health, because I'm starting to get the feel for these attacks. Oh, here we go. And, yeah, then you just have to whip him once and he's gone. Unfortunately, he didn't actually tell us the secrets that he was saying he would tell us. Alright, and no risky boots. Alright, so now that she has all three, she wants to take them back to Mimic and Scuttletown, and that dungeon was one heck of a dungeon, so this is a good place for me to end this video. When we come back next time, we'll head back to Scuttletown, and we'll go from there. See you then.